What's up guys, SLOTH here, and we're doing a patch notes review for the new patch in SMITE Fafnir's Wonderland, patch 3.22, which will be coming out on to the live server next week, so 21st of November I think, or something around that date at least, on Tuesday as always. This is a little delayed compared to usual because the patch notes had some glitches and didn't show up earlier. We're going to go through the skins as usual first, with a quick glance at them and the achievements and stuff like that, and then focus on the balance changes. This patch should not be that long in that regard because it's mostly skins. There is a new skin for Mercury, which is Captain Mercury. Looks kind of somewhere between The Flash and Judge Dredd. Really cool in my opinion. And the reason for that is partially probably because he's getting a buff as well. Talking about that later. Thor skin, really cool. He has an axe instead of a hammer. He throws that axe in his abilities. Has a really cool voice pack. Really like that one. Probably my favorite Thor skin now. There is a new Tyr skin. Also really cool. Despite of me not liking Tyr, I think this is a really cool skin. Also really cool voice pack. The chainsaw actually moves and stuff like that. So really detailed and really nice. Those Tyr and Thor are both from the Odyssey as well. Then there's a new Gap skin, a Christmas skin. My favorite thing about the skin is actually that the little train up here actually drives in circles on the actual skin, and that looks really cool. Then we have the Ratatoskr skin, which is also a Christmas skin. A bit on the lighter side of the Christmas skin, I would say. More somewhat similar to Jingle Hell, but I think different voice lines as well. And then we have Chiron. Also just minor changes overall to his animation stuff, but very different voice pack. And we have the gold skin for Mercury. I think they don't look that great in game, but oh well. And we have the gold skins for Thor, which I think look fairly better. With that, quick glance at the voice packs.
Hey, don't blink, because once you do, you'll be fast asleep.
I have a feeling that it's really loud. I'm sorry about that, but oh well. Can't do much about that.
What do you call a raging barbarian? Whatever you want, as long as you're fleeing.
So that's one of those which I really like.
After fighting hordes of the undead, not much else really faces you.
That's a reference to, what was it, not Evil Dead, but something like that. Also a bit of Duke Nukem and stuff in there, so old school shooter games and horror movies really, which I really like.
Freeze, a jolly good fellow!
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to dunk in a one-god open lane.
Oh, that's going on for quite a while. Jesus Christ.
Spreading the holiday spirit.
Alright, so that's all the skins and the voice packs. Then we have Dancing Mode for Mercury, some new avatars. So Red and Roll was really just an avatar. Cutesy Fafnir and Ferocious Hen. We have achievements for Thoth, which one of them is really interesting because you basically have to use your escape and shoot an enemy or kill an enemy with that to the point where you are already at 25 health or lower, 25% health or lower. I can't read. I can't talk today, apparently. And so here, the Odyssey content once again. The Thor, Tyr, and the Red and Roll Avatar. And you get the HUD skin in return, which is really cool, I think. Really nicely designed and brings a bit of a new flair to the HUD. So then we have Fafnir's Wonderland, which is described in a lot of detail here. You have something similar to Xingtian's Mountain. This time it's winter themed and it's Fafnir. You have all these Christmas skins being involved in in those modes somehow, and apparently some of them are very different from the ones we are used to from Xingtian's Mountains. More focused on game interactions like being blinded and stuff like that, and not so much on just fighting a target, while that's still a part of it. So what's different this time is there's an easy mode and a hard mode. You can do the easy mode the first 15 rounds, and once you finish that, you unlock the hard mode. And as such, after that, if you wanna, you can always start from the hard mode right away, which allows you to, skip the basics and just go for the challenge, really. And I think that's really cool. You also get achievements for that, and for these achievement points, you can get extra points towards your Odyssey. So this is gonna allow you to get some extra points in the Odyssey in the end. I'm not quite sure how it works. How it's described here is, by playing Fafnir's Wonderland, you will earn points towards an achievement. This achievement has 5 tiers and provides rewards at each tier. Earning achievement points, completing rounds on easy will give you 5 points. Completing rounds on hard, 15 points. And there will be quests during the weekends of Fafnir's Wonderland that will provide up to 100 points towards the achievements. And the achievement then gives you Odyssey points, and we don't know how many. And the 5th tier of it will also give you a roll on the cutesy avatar chest, which also includes cutesy Fafnir now. Then we have some update for High Noon Sylvanus and Baron Frostshide basic attack sound effects. And that brings us to the item changes. Odysseus Bow, it is a weird change, I would say. It has its price reduced to 2,100, so it's significantly cheaper in that regard. 350 is quite a fair bit. But the power scaling for the bounces is reduced from 50 to 30. And that's, in my opinion, a bit of an irritating change. I see decreasing the price. It wasn't a popular item, only really picked up very late game. And maybe the idea was to help clearing a little better. I think that's what they say in the description as well. Supplementing lane clear and poke. But at the same time, by decreasing the scaling, that clear is also reduced again. So it's kind of a odd in-between thing that I don't fully comprehend it, or what the purpose here is, because I don't think it's going to get picked up much more. It doesn't have the stats that an early game item would usually provide you with, as flat penetration, which is really helpful and stuff like that. It doesn't have power for increased ability clear, like Iqval, for example, does. Iqval, sorry. And as such, I don't think people are going to pick it up. 30 extra damage on every 4th hit, or 30% of your basic on every 4th hit, is not that much. Yes, it's nice for the ranged poke if you've got half a wave down, but I don't think it will effectively change much about how the item is used, other than it being less valued in late game, actually. So, strange change. Poison Star gets a buff. 10 physical power, that's all. Good buff. The item is a little undervalued, a little worse than the other crit items at the moment, and with that little power increase, it's a little better. I would like to see some duration increase on the slow, actually. I think that would do a lot for it. But this already pushes up a little further and gives it a little more of an option to be picked up, while still not being a core crit item. Bellona sees some changes. I'll actually read this out. Bellona brings the weapons of her choice to the battlefield. In her early laning phase, she usually is using Bludgeon or Scourge. However, Bludgeon overshadows Scourge even in unfavorable matchups. With this power shift, the two abilities should be closer to each other in strength, rewarding Bellona players who pick the right weapon for the right situation. I think there used to be an others change for Scourge as well, and that's a damage change, and that's oddly enough not in here. So maybe this is not complete, because now it looks like straight up just a nerf, like they just termed as nerf. So the cooldown is changed on Scourge is from 18 seconds to 20 down to 16, so it would make sense to level it up as it scales down now. While Bludgeon gets a 2-second cooldown increase. That means that you're not going to use Bludgeon on a wave as much to just clear the wave, then hit with a hammer, and then use another Bludgeon before the next wave to poke the enemy, because the cooldown is longer. But I think there should be a base damage change for the Scourge as well, which is not showing up. So, with that base damage change, it should favor Scourge a little more. If I recall correctly, the end game damage is not increased, but the lower ranks are increased. I don't think that Scourge is going to compete with Bludgeon, though, because the point with Bludgeon is that it has that AoE swing, and that really helps with her clear. And Scourge, yeah, it can sometimes be good if you can get interrupted during your Bludgeon, but even if you get interrupted, you're still going to use Bludgeon just to get the AoE effect. So, yeah, I think there is a little more of a buff in there, but overall it might still be a nerf for Bellona depending on the values of the Scourge. Fenrir. Seething Howl. Lifesteal changed from 15 up to 35 scaling percent to 30% at all ranks. I think this is an interesting but mostly good change. So you don't need to max out Seething Howl to get more lifesteal, and you never really max out Seething Howl until last. So you have more lifesteal now, which allows you to trade a little better sometimes. Gives it a bit more value to just throw in 1 point there early on, because 30% lifesteal is still nice, and I like that. Fenrir was not underperforming, but he was also not overperforming. He's getting some small tweaks throughout the last patches just to keep up with other assassins, and I think that's fine. I think that's a good change. Tsunami also sees a buff. Base damage increased from 36 to 40, and base damage per level increased from 2.05 to 2.4. That's quite a significant increase in my opinion, and I think these buffs are justifiable. She was not overperforming by any means. She was rather underperforming. We haven't seen her perform well in the SPL so far, really. She's done okay, but that's really it. And as such, increasing those values a little bit, making it more worth to pick her, is a good choice. Mercury. Mercury, I think, gets the biggest buff this patch, along with Thoth. Mercury sees a movement speed increase from 375 to 381. This is intended, so he has one more movement speed than Vamana. The movement speed increase makes sense. Fastest guy alive should be fast, right? And it also helps his passives a little bit of extra damage. That big deal here is maximum velocity, though. Maximum velocity now cleanses slows and makes the player immune to slows for the duration. So you're basically getting a free winged blade whenever you use maximum velocity. And if you know how strong winged blade is in Smite, then you understand how strong this changes and what the implications of this are. You basically, some people even built winged blade on Mercury at the moment. I know that Weaken had that basically as a core in his build, and now he doesn't need it anymore. He's getting that slow immunity on his own. Or you could get winged blade and be slow immune all the time, but I don't think you even need that. So maximum velocity, much more significant to his kit now, much more potential there. I think this is going to catapult Mercury far up in terms of popularity. May actually be too strong, especially the fact that he's immune to slows as well. I see the cleanse makes sense. The immunity may be very scary. Susano, Stormcutter just gets a fix for the effect. And last but not least, Thoth. Thoth gets a change that I actually already said would be very good in the PTS stage. Though the change is very drastic. Reduce cooldown from 18 seconds at all ranked on Evade and Punish, his escape, to 16 seconds down to 12 seconds. Now I was saying that this should scale down with the levels, maybe 1 second per rank. But I kind of thought that 18 seconds on the first rank is alright, and then it scales down to 14 seconds. Now we're starting at 16, so it's not even that important to put a point into it, and it goes down to 12. That means if you build some CDR, which you should on Thoth, especially when CDR boots are kind of valuable as he has flat pen built in, we're talking about possibly, depending on how much CDR built, down to 7.2 seconds, most likely somewhere around 8 seconds most of the time cooldown. On an escape that is going into all directions like Rams, but also can get increased range with his 3. So that means, while beforehand you had to be really, really careful with his escape and you really had to consider if it's worth using it, you can now use it very aggressively just to go in and hammer it into someone's face and then still get out afterwards because it's on such a low cooldown. And that's gonna be scary. And that puts Thoth in a much, much better place, because now he still has the safe ranged poke at all times. He still has the heavy burst on his ultimate, but he also has an escape tool that is a powerful damage tool and will allow him to be much, much harder to pick off, which is hard to do in the first place because he's so far back compared to other characters in the team fights. So I think it's a good change, but it may have been too much. We'll see if it has to be turned back a little bit, as at the moment it seems very, very, very strong. That's it for these patch notes. I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you guys for watching. See you all for the next video tomorrow. Duke Sloth, out. And also we hit 100 subscribers on Twitch. Holy crap, thank you guys.